Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be diving deep into the world of Square. It's a company that I think has really kind of revolutionized how we think about business,
Yeah.
from a simple card reader to like this full-blown financial service provider.
Right.
Their story is just, I think, packed with insights that you can use,
Mhm.
especially if you're, a woman entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And I think what's so remarkable about Square is
Yeah.
that they didn't just, create a product, right?
Hmm.
They addressed a genuinely universal pain point. Imagine back in 2009, like the only way for a small business to accept credit cards was through those like clunky, expensive terminals.
Absolutely. It's like this massive
Like you have like,
old school credit card imprinters.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was a barrier to entry for so many small businesses.
Oh, yeah.
And it was expensive.
Yeah, for sure. And now it's like, I think about it and it almost feels archaic
Right.
when you can just like whip out your phone. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what Square's founders, Jack Dorsey and Jim McKelvey, they realized that that was like, this is a pain point we can solve. And their solution,
Mm.
a simple card reader that plugged right into a smartphone.
Mm.
And it was revolutionary. I mean, they essentially handed small businesses a key to the big leagues.
Totally. And I think that's something that's so interesting about them is that it was such a simple idea.
Right.
You know what I
It
mean?
was elegant.
Like it wasn't this like crazy new technology. It was really just like, how can we take this thing that exists and make it accessible?
Right. Make it accessible and make it work with the technology that people are increasingly using,
Yeah.
which is their phones.
Right.
So smart.
So smart, and it clearly worked, but it's like, they didn't just create this product and like cross their fingers and hope it would work. It's like
Yeah.
they had a plan.
Of course.
So let's dig into how they turn that one product into this like billion-dollar business, you know?
So it all boils down, I think, to a few key strategies.
Sure.
Um, First and foremost, simplicity was their superpower. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Okay.
They took the complexity out of credit card processing and made it incredibly intuitive.
Yeah.
And this was genius because in 2009, we were just entering, the age of smartphones.
Yeah.
People were still getting comfortable with apps and online transactions.
For sure.
And Square made it all incredibly easy to adopt.
It's that user experience,
Yeah.
especially crucial in those early days, I
So
feel.
crucial.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something that, any entrepreneur listening should really take to heart.
Totally. So they nailed the user experience, but they didn't just rest on their laurels, did they?
Oh, no, no, no.
It's like, what were some of the early signs that Square was like, we're playing the long game here?
One word, expansion.
Okay.
They understood that to truly thrive, they had to become more than just a card reader company.
Right.
They had to become a financial ecosystem.
Okay.
So take Square Capital, for instance, their small business loan program. Okay. They recognize that access to capital is often a hurdle for small businesses.
Totally.
So they use their technology and data to create a solution.
That's so smart.
Or,
I mean,
it's brilliant.
to think like, oh, we're already kind of in this world.
Exactly. We're already collecting this data.
But how can we?
How can we leverage it
Yeah.
to help our customers even more?
Yeah. And make more money. I mean, let's
Yeah.
be real.
Of course. I mean, it's a business.
Right. But it's like,
It's a win-win.
exactly.
Right. You're providing a valuable service and you're also, growing your own business.
Exactly. And I think that's something that's really important for like entrepreneurs to remember.
Absolutely.
It's like you said, it's a win-win.
Yeah. It's not just about, making a profit.
Right.
It's about providing value. And I think Square really embodies that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that makes their story so compelling. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the challenges they faced along the way,
Right.
because it's not always easy.
Oh, no, no. It's not a walk in the park,
Right.
building a billion-dollar company.
Exactly. So maybe we can dig into some of those hurdles in the next part.
Yeah, let's do it. So with Square Capital, it wasn't just, about offering loans. It was about how they decided who to loan to.
Right. Like, how do you assess risk when you're talking about small businesses?
Exactly. And this is where their data-driven approach really shines. Instead of relying on traditional credit scores, they looked at the actual performance of these businesses.
Oh, interesting.
They analyzed real-time sales data from Square transactions to figure out, is this business healthy? Are they making money? Are they growing? It's like they were looking at the pulse of these businesses.
It's like a real-time credit score almost.
Exactly. And that was a game changer for so many businesses, especially those who maybe didn't have a long credit history or maybe they had struggled to get funding through traditional banks.
Totally, because it's like a whole different set of metrics that they're using to evaluate you.
Precisely. And it's based on your actual business performance, not just some arbitrary score.
So smart.
And, that's just one example. They've applied that same data-driven approach to everything. Customer engagement, targeted marketing tools, you name it.
It's like they found this gold mine of data,
Right.
and they're like, how can we use this to help our customers and also grow our business?
Exactly. But, even with their innovative spirit and, their early success, it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
I was just about to say, every company, even the most successful ones, hit some bumps in the road.
Oh, for sure.
So what were some of the challenges that Square faced? Like, what were some of the things that they had to overcome?
Well, for starters, navigating the financial services landscape is no joke.
Right. It's not like selling T-shirts online.
Exactly. It's a heavily regulated industry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And Square had to learn the ropes quickly.
Right. You got to make sure you're playing by the rules.
Exactly. And that adds a whole other layer of complexity to running your business.
Totally. And on top of that, didn't they also face some pretty stiff competition?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the payment processing industry is cutthroat.
Right.
And once those established players saw what Square was doing well, they wanted a piece of the pie.
Right. They're not just going to sit back and watch.
Exactly. So Square had to constantly innovate and stay ahead of the curve.
It's like they're running a marathon, but they have to sprint the whole time.
That's a great analogy. Because they can't afford to slow down or get complacent.
Right. Because the moment they do...
Someone's going to overtake them.
Exactly. So how did they do that? Like, how did they stay ahead in such a competitive market?
Well, a big part of it was their ability to adapt and anticipate the evolving needs of their customers.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so think about the rise of mobile payments.
Right, like Apple Pay and all that.
Exactly. Square had to make sure that they integrated seamlessly with these new technologies.
Right, because if they didn't, their customers would be like, well, what good are you?
Exactly. They would become obsolete.
And speaking of mobile, their whole mobile-first approach was genius.
Oh, absolutely. They were way ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, like back in 2009, not everyone was thinking mobile first.
Right. It was revolutionary.
So I think this is a good takeaway for our listeners because a lot of them are entrepreneurs themselves.
Absolutely.
How can they apply that same kind of forward thinking to their own ventures today?
That's a great question. And I think it goes beyond just having, a mobile-friendly website or app.
Okay, so it's bigger than that.
It's about really understanding how people are using their phones to manage their businesses and their lives.
Okay, so like what does that look like practically?
So ask yourself, how can you make your product or service something that people can't live without on their phones?
Okay, so like indispensable.
Exactly.
Mm.
Can you leverage location data? Can you integrate with other apps that people are already using? Can you streamline processes so that things are easier and faster to do on a mobile device?
It's like meeting your customers where they are.
Exactly. And that's what Square did so brilliantly.
They understood the assignment.
They did. They understood their customers, and they were relentless in their pursuit of making things easier and more accessible.
So to kind of recap here, we've got problem solving, we've got user-centric design, we've got the power of data in this whole mobile-first mentality. Anything else we should be adding to that list?
I think one thing we haven't talked about enough is like the power of your own business insights.
Okay.
Like, remember how Square used their data to create Square Capital?
Yeah.
They were like, we have all this information about how small businesses are performing.
Right.
What can we do with it?
Okay.
And boom, they created a whole new service that's genuinely helping people.
That's such a good point.
And any entrepreneur can do this.
Okay. I like where you're going with this.
It's about looking at what you know about your customers or your industry
Yeah.
and finding those hidden opportunities.
So it's like almost like looking for patterns.
Exactly. Like, what do you see that others might be missing?
And I think for a lot of people, it's easy to get caught up in just like the day-to-day of running a business.
Oh, absolutely. You're so busy just trying to keep your head above water
Right.
that you forget to like step back and
Yeah.
see the bigger picture.
Yeah, like zoom out a little bit.
Exactly. Give yourself some space to think strategically.
I love that. Okay, so to kind of bring it all together,
Yeah,
we've covered a lot of ground here today.
we have.
I mean, we talked about Square's origin story.
Their humble beginnings,
We talked about their key strategies,
their challenges.
the lessons we can learn from them.
It's been a journey.
It has. But I'm curious, what do you think the future holds for Square?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Like, where do they go from here?
Well, I think if their history is any indication, they're going to keep disrupting things.
Okay.
They're not going to rest on their laurels.
Right. They haven't so far.
Exactly. And we talked about their mastery of data.
Yeah.
Imagine them developing even more sophisticated tools.
Okay.
Tools that help businesses make smarter decisions.
Like AI-powered business coaches almost.
Exactly. Or maybe they even start predicting future trends.
Oh, wow.
Like imagine having Square as your own personal crystal ball.
It's like they're building the invisible infrastructure that powers the entire small business world.
That's a really cool way to put it.
So if our listeners could take away just one essential insight
Yeah.
from Square's incredible journey,
Huh?
what would it be?
I think it's the reminder that business can be a force for good.
Okay.
Like they've achieved amazing success,
Yeah.
but they've also empowered countless small businesses along the way.
Right.
They made it easier for people to pursue their dreams.
And I think that's something that's really inspiring.
It is. It shows that impact and profitability aren't mutually exclusive.
Beautifully said. And on that note,
Yeah.
we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of Square.
I had a blast.
Me too. Hopefully our listeners learned some valuable insights today.
Absolutely. And remember, guys, it's not just about Square. It's about taking those lessons and applying them to your own journeys.
So keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the businesses that inspire you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.